Hi kids, welcome back to another episode of APUSH. We're still in period 3. Oops, we're not connected. This is such a cool thing I have here. This is my tablet. I don't know if you can see it, but I can write like this on it. And I really like to interact with my note paper. So anyway, hope you, if you ever teach, you get one of these. But anyway, so let's take a look here. Ratification fight. This is about how once they have a convention, they discuss, they debate, and then they vote. And actually, they compromise, and then they vote. And they approved the Constitution out of this convention. Okay, it goes from the Constitution gets voted out of convention, up or down, and they vote it up. They say yes, we think this is the best we can do, and then look where it goes. It goes now to the states, and each state is going to discuss it and debate it also. And then they're going to approve it, and it becomes the law of the land when 9 out of 13 approve it. And so they have discussions, they have campaigns, and then they vote. White male, adult white male, single head of households. Isn't that interesting? Okay, we're going to look at the Federalist paper. We're going to look at the Federalist Papers. We're going to look at the Anti-Federalists. We're going to look at Mercy Otis Warren, who was, the question we want is she a feminist? My God, the writing is so bad. Oops. Is she a feminist? And then the vote for ratification in the colonies, that's what this is. And then the legacy of ratification. So not too much today, but let's try to get through it quickly and efficiently. All right, well, first of all, I want you to take a look at this. This is a wonderful painting of the signing of the Constitution. George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, and tons of other really important people that are known as our founders. Now, I want to click on this link. Now, this used to be much better, but it's this one where you can actually click on and find out who they were. But the older version, you got a whole bunch of good information, and I just want to share this with you. Who's this guy? Richard Dobbs of North Carolina. William Blount, North Carolina. Hamilton, New York. Who's this dude? Governor Morris. He's an interesting scoundrel. And then, of course, James Madison of Virginia. Okay, so this website, again, Teaching American History Resources, you get the biographies of all of the founders here and what they did at the at the Constitution. Excuse me. So we really could search biographies. And you could see, okay, individual biographies of the members. Oh, wait a minute. That's the House of Representatives. Key figures. Oops, that one doesn't work either. Okay, so Thomas Pinckney. There we go. Not a big deal. So it's kind of a neat website. Governor of Virginia. Okay. Anyway, so this is a lot of information. I hope that's somewhat useful to you. I can't imagine you using it, but so I just like that picture, the Constitution, 1788. George Washington takes over 1789. Okay, so let's start with the Federalist Papers. So, one big idea, and we go back to this, the ratification fight, and now it goes to each state, and they have conventions, and they have campaigns to discuss the Constitution, and they vote. Okay, and that's what's going on with the ratification fight. There's two groups. The first group is known as the Federalists. These were guys who were in favor of the Constitution, who were pro-strong central government, and they want the Constitution adopted. They write in their arguments in a series of essays known as the Federalist Papers. These were essays that were published in the newspapers. They were in New York first, and then they go to other colonies. And what they do is they're trying to persuade. This is persuasive. Persuasive essays why we should adopt the Federalist Constitution. Okay, and so that's what you see here. The Federalists, examples of who were the Federalists: Washington, people who were pro-Constitution: Franklin, Hamilton, Madison, John Jay. Again, argued for strong government. They were including printers and traders and merchants. Remember, there were so many economic problems with the Articles of Confederation that they wanted the new Constitution. Madison, at first, does not think a listing of rights is appropriate or important, because he said if you list the rights, you're going to miss some of them. So he doesn't support writing a Bill of Rights at first. But when it became an issue for the people who were against the Constitution, then he says, of course, we'll do it, whatever you want. No big deal. Now, the Federalist Papers are these series of essays. They were written by these three people, Madison, Jay, and Hamilton. Mostly Hamilton and Madison wrote it. There are basically 80 essays, editorials. They use a pseudonym, which means like a pen name. It's called Publius. Publius was from the Roman Republic era, and he wanted to save the Republic, right? Again, they write the Federalist Papers. They were distributed throughout the colonies, and they were used for arguments in favor of the Constitution. They're not the colonies, the states now were independent. Again, the Federalists were afraid of disorder. They wanted order in society. They wanted stability, which is what we should all want. Okay, that's what makes a large society function, is order and stability, as well as rights and liberty and equality and popular sovereignty, all those things. Okay, and so that's the Federalist Papers. These are examples of Federalists. These are their ideas. Okay, make sure you know that. Oh, and this is a link right here to the Federalist Papers. If you ever wanted to read them, you could see the contents. These are all the Federalist Papers. There's 85 of them, and they click number 66, objections to the power of the Senate to set as a court for impeachments. So again, this was about impeachment and why the Senate shouldn't be where they decide. Probably pretty good. Hamilton wrote it, and you can see powers of the Senate. J, powers of the Senate. Hamilton or Madison, Senate continued. Interesting. Anyway, so you can take a look at any of those if you want details. If you can't sleep at night, I recommend the Federalist Papers, because they will put you to sleep. That's a joke. Anyway, there's another group called the Anti-Federalists. The Anti-Federalists were people who were like Patrick Henry, George Mason, Richard Henry Lee, Sam Adams. These were, again, important patriots during the Revolution, and they don't want a strong federal constitution. Remember, these people are afraid. These people are afraid of tyranny. And think about it this way. They just got done fighting Great Britain, which was a strong central government. You know, Great Britain was trying to control them with their taxes and things of that nature and limit their power of self-government. And they said, no, we're not doing that. We want the states to be supreme. They are the party that want the states to be supreme. They want the states to have power above the group. And the Constitution doesn't do this. The Constitution of the United States, who is supreme? The federal government is supreme, and then the states are inferior. Do you follow? So these guys are afraid of a strong government. They're afraid that it'll be tyrannical, that they will do things, they'll force the states to do things. And so they vote against it, and they argued against it. One thing they do want is individual rights. They want to protect the states' rights. They say that we need a Bill of Rights. That's their big pet peeve. And then they're upset that the supremacy, you know, they don't like that the Constitution is supreme over the states. And so for the first 50 years, well, not even 50 years, when they do adopt it, 1788, they'll adopt it. Washington will be elected 1789. All the way through all those presidents, all the way to 1861, the issue that will be brought up will be this thing called states' rights. States' rights will be a controversy. What rights do the states have? States' rights versus the federal government. And that's going to be a controversy you're going to see over and over and over again from the different administrations. And it's going to be settled here with the Civil War from 1861 to 1865. That's going to answer this question once and for all. And the answer will be federal government is supreme. And there's no more states' rights. At least that's the argument. So again, just make sure you know the Anti-Federalists were a group of American patriots who fought the Revolution and who disagreed with the Constitution. They say, no, Constitution, there is too strong. It's too strong. So they go on a fight, and so here's one of the Anti-Federalists, Mercy Otis Warren. She was an Anti-Federalist. She was an intellectual. She did not support the Constitution. And so we care about her because she's a woman involved in politics, which was not a appropriate function for women. She wrote A History of the Revolution. She was an Anti-Federalist. She produced, arguments against the Constitution, and she advocated for a Bill of Rights. They say, is she one of the early feminists? We already talked about the first early feminist was Abigail Adams. That's right, Abigail Adams. And then is Mercy Otis Warren a feminist? Well, the controversy is that she didn't advocate a change in women's roles, but she did participate in those different behaviors. Okay? By being an intellectual, being educated, publishing, etc. Mercy Otis Warren. And then, so the ratification, again, the states discuss the Constitution. They argue in favor of the Constitution or against it. They have conventions, and then they vote. The Constitution gets ratified, but look, it was a very close fight. And so if you look at this this link here, it's a link to the map, okay, that shows you. Now check this out. This is totally interesting. So Massachusetts was controlled by, or Maine was controlled by Massachusetts at this time, wasn't separate. Look how close it is, 187 to 168 in favor. So they pass it, they approve it, but it's very close. What is it, like 10 votes? Let's talk about New York, 30 to 27, very close. Pennsylvania, 46 to 23, not so close. New Jersey, 38 to 0, not so close. Rhode Island, oh, Rhode Island you can't see very well. 29. Anyway, but look at the date for Rhode Island. Look at on yours. Oh, we can't see it. They ratify it much later. Maybe if I click on it. Can I click on it? Excuse me. There it is. 1790. 1790 is when they had their convention. That's a year after. Well, it's George Washington was president already since March, and they're just having their convention in June. So they're way late is the point we're making. 34 to 32. It was very close. Close call. So let's see. Pennsylvania. How about Maryland? 63 to 11. 80 to 79. In Virginia, lots of... So what you learn from this should be, this would be a document. In some states, it was not close. In some states, it was extremely close. Which states was it pretty close in? Virginia, 1 vote. No. Rhode Island was very close. New York was very close. So some of these states are really close in their voting. And that's kind of a message. So that means the country was, in some states, was very strongly divided. There will be anti-federalists in every state. So in the end, the Constitution is ratified when the first 9 states approve the Constitution. So we got Delaware, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Georgia, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Maryland, South Carolina, New Hampshire. Boom. It is now the law of the land. Now, again, I'm putting this slide up again because I think this is extremely important. The Constitution does these things. The Articles of Confederation had no power to tax or regulate trade. That's going to be a big deal here because Congress has power now. That's one of the big takeaways you need to get. No power and more power. States had all the power here, and then the states are limited. Federal law is supreme. Pay attention to that. That's connecting there. Okay, that's it. So just that's really important that you can tell the contrast between the two. And then lastly, here's a really important concept, and this relates to elections in America. Quote, what other country prior to the United States is informed that its government doesn't work, sits for 4 months in convention, comes back for an entire year, debates and debates, and not a drop of blood is spilled? They decide to overthrow their old government peacefully and create a new government. That's what's special. The peaceful transference of power. Peaceful transfer of power. And that legacy goes on with the presidential elections. One party will win the first election, and then another party wins the other election. And it's peaceful, but no blood. Okay, Federalists versus Anti-Federalists. They disagreed, but when it was over, they settled. So they said, be magnanimous in victory and accepting in defeat. Magnanimous means forgiving. The Federalists promised to introduce amendments, but there were no conditions being made for the Anti-Federalists. So again, the idea is, famous story of Patrick Henry. Patrick Henry was governor of Virginia when they're arguing over the Federalist versus the Constitution. And his followers, the Anti-Federalists, came to him and said, Patrick Henry, what do? We lost the vote on the Constitution. What do we do next? How do we fight? How do we resist? What do we do next? And Patrick Henry said, we do nothing. We support the Constitution. We support the government. And that's what we do. And that's very, very American, to come together in face of a defeat in a political contest. We are all Americans first, and then our parties, Democrat or Republican, second or third. And so we have to remember that, we fight our best, be good people, and accept the new leadership. We don't have to agree with that new leadership, and we don't have to stop fighting for what we believe in, but we eventually need to accept it. All right. Well, that's it for today, or for this one. We're on to George Washington. We've already analyzed the Constitution. Now we're going to elect George Washington. This is a different song, but who cares? Have a great day. We'll see you next time, and bye-bye.